every dude with a hammer claims he's a contractor.
Now we can use the AI to get your numbers down. What does high competition mean? It means that there's food to eat.
Don't be afraid of the competition. Don't just come to me with a problem. I mentioned earlier, if the project manager comes to you with a problem, they have to come with a solution first. Did you think about how to fix this first? Great leaders are rarely seen. If you get to the point where you are pushing customers out 3, 4, 5 months, they'll try to find a way out of a contract and they'll write a horrible review on you.
We've been utilizing a project manager almost from our inception. That is what allows me to go out every day and beat the street looking for work.
Making the wrong hire is probably the most expensive mistake you can make as a business owner. Let's get started. So the topic of today's call, running a smarter contracting business. So many guys come to us with questions on how to manage subs, when to bring on a project manager, and really ramping up their team. So I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself to the guys that don't know you already.
Yeah, to the guys who don't know me, I'm Willie, account executive with Quote Magnet. I've been in the business for a long time. Sales, I've thrived at. Business owner in the home remodeling space. Trained numerous salespeople. We've exceeded our marks every year we've been in business, and sales, business operations, all of that is my jam. So I'm here to spread my knowledge and hopefully help you guys today.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's start off with the problem, right? Which is you're running jobs without structure. Like a lot of guys run their construction company day by day, which is like they wake up 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and they're already stressed out because they got a whole laundry list of items to do, and they're doing everything themselves, right?
Absolutely. That seems to be the norm with contractors these days. Part of it is because that's what we learn, right? If you got in the business with your father or your uncle, somebody in your family, right? This is the norm, right? It's archaic, but it's still the norm, right? That you have to wear every single hat along the way, right? So like you said, you wake up, I got to go sell the job. I got a job going on across town. I got to go check on the guys there. I don't really know who's running these jobs because I'm subbing out everything. If you are fortunate enough to have a sub that you know and love, that's great. But most times we're just bidding out to the lowest bidder so we can make the most money. So a lot of times we're in these situations, the structure is lacking, and that's why we have headaches and guys in this business are up to 2, 3 in the morning because none of it is really being taken care of because you can't be everywhere at once, right? So that's our main problem here, right? The structure that we're going is non-existent.
Yeah, and structure is freedom because what a business is it's basically a money-making machine.
Absolutely.
The raw inputs are, the actual labor, the materials, and then the output of that is like the homes are beautiful, right? And you get paid for that. But a lot of guys are literally taking their day by day. There's no systems in place. There's no sales process where it's repeatable and predictable in terms of, they're reliably, predictably able to close deals at high enough prices to where they have, embedded profit margins. And also managing the jobs. Sometimes the owner's doing everything at the same time. Right. Or they do have a project manager that's just not taking care of things properly.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to have the structure. Like structure is freedom. Like I can't stress that enough. Right. You have to have the freedom of being a business owner, being at the top of the food chain. If you're doing everything, you're lacking structure, you're basically a prisoner to your own company. And we don't want that for anybody.
Yeah, well, because I assume that the reason why most people start the business is because they hate working for other people and making them rich.
Absolutely.
But what ends up happening is that you just are working, you're a slave to your own business, right? You never get to the point where you can be an owner of a company versus the operator, right? And there has to be a mindset shift that happens, which is the feeling, like I think everyone as a business owner, they subconsciously feel this way, the need to be everywhere all at once. They feel like if they don't have eyes on something, that things are going to go wrong. And it's probably the reason why they feel that way is because they learned it, because when they didn't have eyes on something, things went wrong. So now they have to have eyes on everything. But that is really more of a reflection of you as a business owner versus like the business itself, because there are profitable construction companies that do tens of millions of dollars a year and they run almost on their own, right? They're predictable, they're repeatable. It's because they have systems in place. So if your job as a CEO is just to be a professional firefighter, where every morning you wake up to delays on job sites, guys not showing up. You're not knowing when the next phone call is coming in because you don't know, you don't have predictability in terms of the calls coming through. There's no systems, right? And a lot of guys build for speed. They go for the quick wins. They land a job and then they coast off that because they land a 30, 50, $100,000 job, and that's kind of like their big break. But
Yep.
really, the winners are the guys that they take those moments and they learn from them, and then they double down. So Will, you can talk about that, but as a leader, you really need to create structure in the company. That's your job. Every day you're creating more and more structure, you're creating more and more systems.
For sure. So again, I think all of us on this call understand the being everywhere at once. We're everything to everybody, right? In our company. But great leaders are rarely seen. Like, I don't know who needs to hear that, but great leaders are rarely seen, right? You think because it's your company, you need to be the face of it. You have to be sparse. You know, if you have to show up on a job to, you know, shake hands with a homeowner on the day the materials drop and the work comes in, that's great. But you have other things that you need to do, and you know that. We all know that, right? So, you know, that's why systems need to be in place, right? Because a lot of times we're reactionary in this business. Being reactionary costs you a lot of money, right? So not having a system in place, if a fire happens, then you have to stop whatever you're doing at that point and put out that fire, right? So to Nick's point, it goes back to stability and not just speed. I know a lot of times we're doing things in this business. We're just trying to we want to make it, we want to make the money, get the job done fast as we can, but then fires happen. We have no systems in place, right? Everything we do is about building. We need to be stacking on top of each other. So the systems help with stability, right? The systems that we need in place is going to give you more freedom, metaphorical freedom, literal freedom. It's going to help you. And with that leadership that you bring to when you bring the structure is that everybody will help you expand and grow the business because they know exactly what's expected of them, right? You know what to expect. You can confidently, keyword is confidently, do something else while something else is going on, right? Because like Nick said, a lot of it is learned not to really trust anybody because something to go bad if you take your eyes off of it. That's why we need to have better people in place, people that we trust that help us grow this thing so you can do other things to help build the company. Because if you got to keep your eyes on your employees or your subs, that's taking time away from you actually growing a brand.
Right.
That's where the
and if you believe that, you know, you have to be there at all times, all hours, and there's no other way to run a business. We talk to some guys. I have these calls every day with construction company owners, and they say that when they're not there, things start going wrong, and they don't actually want to grow beyond the point of like, I always want to show up at the job. I always want to show face, and if that's you, cool. But if you do want to get to that next level, then you're gonna have to let go of some control in the company, and you got to do it in a way that is, you know, predictable, reliable, safe,
redundant,
and redundant. So we can talk about project managers now, right?
Yes. If we, you know, by a show of hands in the chat, if you can, how many of you guys got a project manager, right? Like, why do we need a project manager? And a dedicated project manager. If you're the project manager, that we're talking to you, right? Having a PM keeps the jobs on schedule, right? A reliable project manager is going to save you money, right? They are the people who can have those conversations with the homeowners if something goes awry or they just need to, you know, something needs to be communicated, right? It doesn't need to always be a phone call to you say, hey, this happened on the job site. We need to talk. You need to have somebody that you confidently feel is essentially their word is your word. Somebody that you can trust to talk to the homeowners, the client, whoever it may be on the project, to keep things moving forward, right? We got to have somebody literally being a crew lead, project manager, whatever you want to call it, right? They catch mistakes. Mistakes cost us money. We've all been there, right? They keep everything on time. Because the moment you go past whatever time you had allotted for the project, a $50,000 job is going to take you 5 days to do. On the 6th day, that $50,000 job is now $48,500, right? So it costs you money to not be on time, but also it frees you to work on the business, right? We can't grow the bit. Like once the job is sold, it costs us money. So we want to be tight about the jobs that we run. Because if you sign a $50,000 job, you got to pay for material, you have to pay your employees. The money is being spent. So we need to go generate more money. If you're on the job running it as a project manager, when are you going to have the opportunity to actually make more money? We want to keep the money flowing. That's why we need a project manager so you can focus on other parts of the business to actually grow it. I know it sounds weird, but the moment you create a job, the business isn't growing in the actual build, right? You have to keep growing the business while the business is actually building things. Otherwise, you're stagnant, and that's how we start to lose money.
Yeah, and that's a trap that a lot of contractors fall into, right? Is they close a job,
Absolutely.
and then all eyes are on this job now, right? And they don't even have time during the day to go off to run a bid because they got to be on site, and by the time they get back, things are already going wrong. But also just like the clarity mentally you're going to have at during your walkthroughs, if you're not having to worry about the jobs that are going on, it's also going to be enhanced. Your close rate's going to go up. When do you feel like is the best time to invest in a project manager way? What stage of the business?
I would listen. I mean, I don't know. I would say immediately, if not sooner. Obviously, I don't know everybody's books, and I'm very cognizant of that. However, it's one of the first. Look, think about it as insurance on a house, right? You buy a big house. What's the next thing you buy? You buy insurance for the big house. The project manager is essentially your insurance what you call it, insurance plan, right? They are going to ensure that the money that you're spending to build this job actually goes to spec, right? They'll save you money in the long run, which saving money is also helping you make money. If you have to be on every job that you sell, that's a day away from you actually running a lead. Or if you have to run a lead and getting calls while you're in the home with a client because something went wrong on the job, you think you're gonna close that deal? That's not professional, you know. And I know if we don't have project managers, our phones are on silent, but we're still looking at our phones when we're in the house, right? Because you can't take your mind away from the business of the actual build because you don't trust anybody. We need project managers as soon as we start these businesses, right? We need
But
somebody.
we're also, empathetic to the fact that it costs money to have a project manager.
100%, 100%.
A salary position. So we'll talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Employees versus subs.
Yeah.
Guys subbing everything out versus having full-time employees and full-time crews.
Yeah.
It's a big topic.
It's a huge topic. Employees save you money. I know it feels like it doesn't because it's guaranteed money, but knowing that you have somebody in place to do these things are going to help you save money in the long run because subs are salesmen.
We had a conversation about this. Like,
yeah,
subs are trying to rip you off.
Absolutely.
Like they're trying to
absolutely.
They're trying to get as much money out of you as you are of the homeowner, right? Everyone in this business is trying to make as much money as possible.
The sub sees the contract if you show them, which and they think, or they see the size of the project, and they think, I'm going to charge them the most money I think I can get away with, right? Or the sub will tell you, it's going to cost this much money to get it done. So this goes back to knowing your numbers. We talked about this a while ago, but the sub shouldn't be dictating to you how much they're going to charge you to do the job. It should be the other way around, right? If you're letting your sub tell you how much it costs, they're literally cutting into your profits. That's a lot of reasons. That's a main reason a lot of companies like this go out of business because they're overpaying for labor, right? If you are going to continue using subs, you have to control the pay, not the other way around. You should use employees. A W-4 employee will help you in the long run. You're not paying them about it, you're paying them only for the jobs that they do, but you're taxing them. They already know what they're going to get. So you don't want to have misclassifications, right?
There's
so
many things that go wrong though in this topic right now. Like
Absolutely.
so many guys leaking money in their business because they
absolutely
like maybe some people think W-4 full-time employee and they think, okay, they're getting paid whether or not there's a job.
No, not W-2. Or W-2 gets a wage. W-4 is essentially unpaid employee, except for the jobs they do. The only difference is that you're paying them taxes. The taxes are being taken out of their check already. So it helps you and it helps them, right? So you don't want to run into tax problems, because I'm sure everybody here knows somebody in this business who has run into some problems with the government as far as taxing, and all based on who gets paid and how they get paid. It's cleaner to run a W-4 system. It's easier. And with employees, you get more loyalty, right? They know that you'll keep them fed. Nobody's bouncing off of jobs, right? It helps you grow. And everything we do here is to help you grow, right? Subs won't help you grow. They will not.
You said something earlier though, Willie, that if their subs are dictating what things cost, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of guys do that. They do the walkthrough, they take measurements, then they're going to their subs, then they're asking them what it's going to cost. They're putting that together in the proposal, and then they're submitting that to the homeowner. That's what that's what a lot of guys do. Because
the subs want the most they can get for whatever job they're getting, right? We all do. We all want to make money, but subs are opportunists a lot of times. If they see the job and they think, I can get a bigger cut of the pie, they should be getting the same amount based on the job. Subs should call it like points on a record. Like, you get this much, no matter what the job size is, you're only getting this much of the pie. Instead of a sub looking at the job and thinking, I can shack another $2,000 on here because I can make more money. It's not going to help you grow at all. Like, that is literally going to stunt your growth because you're overpaying for labor. So then you start to see your margins decrease, and you just did a $50,000 job. And even if you thought you started at a 30% margin before you got the sub involved, and now now you at 22, 23% because the sub has literally taken you to the cleaners. And
so and it goes, because our two most important rules in our sales process when we teach our guys, the first one is when they say yes, you take the payment right then and there. You don't go home, right? Rule number one, call the Uber, right? If they say yes, you take
the Uber.
Rule number two is know your pricing.
Yeah.
If you know your numbers, you're not going to get sleazed about your subs.
Yeah. Knowing your numbers and knowing your pricing also, like Nick said, includes the subs. If you're using subs, you have to know what you're going to pay them. If you don't, it'll take you for a long ride, right? They're going to come up with crazy expenses on a job. They'll make up expenses on a job. You think you got all the materials, they'll tell you they need more materials. Then if you go and really walk through, did they even use the materials? Probably not. So
yeah, you told me a story of like a sub on a job, and then when you finish the job, there's like so much leftover material, right?
and he tried to charge me for it, and he tried to take it. he tried to charge me for it, and he tried to take it for another job.
I mean, because you need extra, right? But if there's leftover material at the end of the job, you just that money is just
goes back, right? If you're buying it from a supply house, I can send back extras, right? So yeah, you definitely need more, right? But it's like, we need way more. I'm like, okay. Then you get there and it's like, this job is done, and I'm sitting here with bundles of stuff, and you charge me for this, and I'm like, where is it? Because I'm counting this much. You said you needed this much. Oh, it's on the back of your truck. Where was that headed? So we were no longer in business together, because again, a sub will try to do certain things like this to contractors because they're not very loyal.
Employees are loyal, right? If you treat them well.
Yeah.
It goes back to sales and marketing are huge, because a project manager, it's huge, but it's a salary role. So you're going to have to consistently pay them. So you need to work ahead of time. So Absolutely. The foundations are sales and marketing, but this is like the next level.
Yeah. I mean, just remember, guys, that like a hungry dog ain't a loyal dog, and subs are hungry. So that's why we want to get employees under our belt, because the level of loyalty goes through the roof based on the fact that they know that the money is going to be there. We'll keep them fed, and it'll help grow you. It'll help grow them too.
In big picture, we need to think more long term. That your job is not to be a professional firefighter. I mean, we know a lot of contractors that actually are firefighters during the day.
Yeah,
like it's actually more common than you think, right?
Yeah.
But figured, like metaphorically speaking, here we're not a firefighter.
Yeah.
If there is something that goes wrong on a job site, that's your opportunity. Like a lot of guys fix it and then they just on to the next thing, and they're constantly stressed out. But that should be an opportunity for you to learn and analyze what happened. We need to conduct what's called a root cause analysis.
Amen.
Like what went wrong on this job and why.
Yeah, not just what went wrong. We need to understand why it went wrong, right? And to the point of not being a firefighter, we're all going to have fires. We work in the construction, right? There will be fires. We're not saying that they won't be, but you are not a firefighter, right? You should have people in place to fight those fires. If you need to step in, it better be something really crazy, right? It better be something that they need to call you on, and we need ownership here. And that happens every blue moon. But we have to also, like Nick said, we have to think long term. I know a lot of times we get in this business, margins may be razor thin. The bank might not look real good when you look at your account, but you still have to have the mindset of I'm growing this thing no matter what it looks like presently, right? We all start from the bottom, right? We all, like, I mean, not all of us, some of us might have started on third, but most of us, we start at the bottom, right? Like, we have to build this thing, and part of building it is seeing it before it actually happens. And I think too many times we get caught up in the money part of it, and when you're desperate, you don't make good decisions, right? So even when the money feels tight, we have to be thinking as if the money isn't, right? We have to have a long-term vision for this thing, because thinking for the short term will only get you short-term results. And what happens when we do short-term results? Once that short-term result is over, then we're back in the start of that cycle. And that's how we eventually don't grow the business and go out of business, because we are not
There are
thinking.
two things that will put you out of business in this industry, right? Number one is like you can't sell. You're not. You can't. There's no with no contract. There's no contractor
at all.
Right.
At all.
That's the first thing that'll put you out of business. The second thing that'll put you out of business is mismanaged jobs.
Yeah, 100%. You can get a job that looks good on paper, and by the time you get done running it, you feel like you barely made any money, if you did, because we're mismanaging it, right? Call the Ubers first, right? They say yes to the job, get a check. We're leaving there with something to get this going, right? But then you got to manage it the right way, right? You don't want to be on a job that's going to lose you money because it's not being managed properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want everyone to really think about their biggest challenge today in the present moment for the construction company, and really think about it, because it's a Friday, right? It's the end of the week. It's not like it's Monday morning where you just got to put your head down and just get to work. We have some time to really think as a CEO at like a higher level and think about where you want to take the business. So think about what is actually preventing you from growing. Are there any problems that you're running into over and over again that you feel like you're hitting your head in the wall? Is this something that you can actually solve? 99% of the time, it's a problem that can be solved, because there are construction companies that do millions of dollars a year, billions, right? Is it sales? Like when you are going to the job, are you prepared with numbers? What are you closing at? Right? Because the sales and marketing stuff, we have courses for that, if that's the issue. Marketing, are you getting in front of people? Are you just waiting on referrals? But then what we talked about today was really the last three: the quality control, the scheduling, the communication. Those all fall under systems.
Absolutely.
And they can all be broken down to, like, quality control. I mean, that's the job of the project manager. Scheduling, well, if you want to talk about that, we have not to name names, but we have guys that are like, they can't take on any work, right? Because they're booked out for so long.
Yeah. So scheduling comes that, again, systems, right? If you're closing jobs, congrats, right? But after we close a job, we got to schedule it. We have to schedule it properly to build it properly, right? And too many times we run into guys that can't handle the work that they're bringing in. So now you got homeowners, 4 or 5 months out. That homeowner is not going to be happy, right? Because the projects aren't being, scheduled properly, managed properly. The communication goes along with that too, because the last thing a homeowner wants is for you to sign them up for a big project and then go radio silent because you don't even know when the project can start because you don't have the schedule, right? You have to have your schedule intact. It has to be airtight, right? Like you should know before you go in a home how far you are out on getting the job, right? Like if you know it's 6 to 8 weeks when you show up, then it needs to be done in 6 to 8 weeks. And the homeowner should know that. It should be in the contract. Like, hey, we're rolling at about 2 months right now, month and a half, 2 months to get you done, right? I mean, it's all custom. They understand. We have to order, we have to source material, but if you get to the point where you are pushing customers out 3, 4, 5 months, what do you think that's going to do for the homeowner? Right? They'll try to find a way out of a contract. They'll try, they want the refunds, even though there's obviously each state is different. But in Ohio, you got 3 days first right of refusal. But if they scream loud enough, they can get their money back.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll write a horrible review on you. And everybody on this call understands how much a Google review means to us. And you know how much a bad Google review does to the brand, right? So all of this goes into the systems. You have to have the system in place. You have to
also if you feel like communication is the biggest constraint, like I don't have time to talk to all these homeowners or communicate with them. Like, does it defy the laws of physics for you to like check in with everybody once a day? Like, is there like a actual constraint that makes it impossible for you to communicate with everyone, or are you just unorganized, or you just don't have a system in place to actually remember to check in with everybody? Like when you sign the dotted line, is it a system in place in your company to 30, 45 minutes after the appointment, sending them a personalized message, welcoming them to the, as a client to your company? Like, do you know how much that would do to like destroy buyer's remorse right there and kill it?
Yep.
It builds. You sign up with Willie's company, an hour later, gets a message from Willie. Hey, Stacy, super excited to have you on board. Can't wait to get, to remodel your kitchen. It's going to be beautiful. Our team's super excited to work with you. Just that one liner alone takes you, what, 15, 20 seconds? But like they're immediately like, wow, they didn't just run off with a check.
And it's going to be ended with our customers are the biggest part of our business.
Mm-hmm. And again, that was just one subsystem of like other systems you need to build.
Yeah, it builds goodwill, right? It makes them feel good about signing up with you. And then if you do need, like sometimes you got supply chain issues. If you need to push something back because you can't get it, a phone call is what's going to get it done, right? You have to be able to communicate anything with a customer, with a homeowner, right? Like, my dad said all the time, I take good news, I take bad news, I don't take surprises. That's been beaten to my head my 40 years here on earth, that I use it in business. Like I'm not gonna blindside anybody. I'll give you bad news if that's what it is, but homeowners will appreciate you communicating the bad news. Mm-hmm. You gotta have a solution to the bad news. You can't just say bad news, that's it. But I mean, you gotta communicate it and let them know what you're gonna do to alleviate the bad news. Communication will leave homeowners, because when it's all said and done, they're gonna remember how you made them feel. And a part of making them feel a certain way is communication. Period. Yep. Not when it's happy, when it's bad. It's construction.
And they'll appreciate you. Like if you reach out with a problem and you're bringing the problem up to them, and they didn't even know there was a problem, they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea. But they must be on it. The problem is if they bring a problem up to you. Like, where have you been?
And that's why you need project managers as well, because your project manager should be able to see the problem before the homeowner does anyway. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a project manager and you're not on the scene, that's a missed opportunity to see something.
So I think you had a story, Willie, that we were talking about right before this call. You anyone ever had a sub just not show up?
This is why I went to employees in my early years of being a business owner. Had a kitchen job, sizable job, thought it was sizable to us. We had to push the job back 2 weeks. Sub just stopped showing up because he got a better offer from another contractor. It was making him more money. He didn't answer the phone for like 3 days. Took his whole crew, and I'm like, hey, where you at? So I had to find another crew. He's like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot I had another project. I'm like, you forgot you had work? Like, come on, man. So then he get to it, and, so I dig a little deeper, and he just basically let me know like he had a project that was going to make him more money, which I respect making money, but you had already signed up to work with me, right? So I'm like, so you literally jumped off the ship, you jumped off the bus, you said, you know what, I don't, because again, he had no loyalty to me. Like this was a true sub. So that cost me, it cost me so much money, like that I barely made a profit on the job that at first I was supposed to make about 35% profit, right? Because I had to get 2 crews, right? Then I had to fight with this guy about getting the first part of my money back. It was just it was a headache. Now, when I went to employees, the only time I had to let an employee go, and Nick, I told you this, it was one of my best project managers that we had a real big job and he got a real big check and he disappeared for about a week and a half, went to Vegas and I'm like, then he comes back up and then he inebriated. I'm like, you can't do this. He was like, man, we doing so well. I'm like, yeah, but we're professionals and there's no substitution for professionalism, right? And he was my best project manager and I still had to let him go because, he just would, he didn't know how to handle winning.
And those are the scars you learn as a business owner. But now,
yeah,
it's like you have systems in place,
Yeah.
and you can always get blindsided by an employee, but then you got to learn how to hire properly in an interview.
Yeah.
But again, it just goes back to the mindset of what we're trying to build here. You're trying to build redundancy. You're trying to build systems that run without you.
Yeah.
No.
You're definitely trying to build systems that run without you, right? It's almost like you sell the job and it becomes residual income because you're building and winning more deals and the jobs are just taking place. That you don't have to, go with a fine-tooth comb through the jobs to make sure it's being done right because you trust the people around you.
So closing this off, we want to, none of this matters if we don't take any actionable steps away from it, right? I mean, it's fun to listen to, but what's it going to do to actually help you make more money and grow your business? Well, I think immediately you can think about like, what can you delegate or what system can you put in place to where things are moving in the direction of they're more on their own.
Yeah.
Right. Where there's systems in place. And if your sub has to call you every single time there's something on, like I have conversations with contractors all the time and Willie on the one-on-ones as well. I'm sure you've had one-on-ones and then like 3 or 4 times during the 30-minute meeting, they're getting phone calls from their employees like, hey, I need this. Where's this? And they can't even go like 10 minutes without getting a phone call.
All the time.
Like it's ridiculous.
And like I said, I mentioned it earlier. If you in the house trying to close a deal and your phone still keep blowing up, how you think the client gonna feel? Like, oh, he don't even have enough time for me. Like, obviously you want to look like you're in demand, right? There's part of it, the perception of you got to look busy, but then there's a part of it that looks unorganized and like chaotic. So it's a fine line, right? Like, you don't want the contractor who can be at your house the same day because why are you just sitting around waiting on me to call you? But you also don't want the contractor who is so disorganized that like he can't even give you the undivided attention that you need when you're trying to close a deal with a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think we've all been doing this long enough, losing money on the job from poor oversight. I think we all been there. Again, that's why a lot of us go out of business in this industry is that like labor is kicking our butt. And what part of labor is it? We don't know our numbers. We don't have, we don't have partnerships with brands to get stuff at cost. We're letting subs take us to the cleaners, run us through the car wash for the money. You got to know who your team is. And that's why we need employees, right? Employees allows you to delegate. I can't delegate with subs. You got to be on top of a sub like 100%, right? You got to treat them like probationary employees the whole time. You got to do over their shoulder, making sure it's done right. An employee, you get to know the guys. They get to know you. They know what's expected. You have to have the right type of structure set up for them. They fall in line with the structure. Everybody wins. But we want to stop guys from having jobs that are, it looks good on paper. Oh, I got a $70,000 job. And then when it's done, they ain't make any money. We don't want that. We don't want that for anybody here. We don't want that for anybody who's not here, right? Like none of us got into this job to run at razor thin margins, right? We did not get into become contractors to make $5,000 on a $40,000 job. I don't think any of us did that.
Mm-mm.
Right? Like this is a growth business, right? This is about growth. Everything we do is about growing. And it starts with structure. We got to have it. I don't think a lot of us have it because a lot of us didn't learn it. We learned it from old guys who basically didn't have any competition. So they didn't have to have structure, you know?
Yeah, well, what was it back then? It was like Yellow Pages.
Yellow pages. There was no Google,
There's no
right?
Google.
Like
You couldn't get 3 bids on a job. You knew someone you didn't.
if you wanted 3 bids, it was going to take you a while because you had to flip through the yellow pages, figure it out, maybe ask somebody, you know. Yeah. And that guy would say, oh, here's the price. I'll leave it here. Call me if you want it. You know, the competition is the competition is so much steeper now. Every dude with a hammer claims he's a contractor, right? There are no barriers to entry in this business. You can start an LLC in literal minutes, right? Like
Now we can use the AI to get your numbers down.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so AI is on their side. You don't even have to be good at this to be good at this anymore, right? So what we're trying to build is guys who are actually good at this. So because if you're really good at this, it shows. You stand apart in a crowded room,
But
homeowners can feel it.
there is good news, because what does high competition mean? It means that there's food to eat. Like if you were a fish and you could jump into a pond with no other fish in it, you were the only one out there. Or there's the pond right over there. There's sharks swimming around, but there's like lots of minnows. There's like a big fish in there, small fish in there. If you jump into that one, yeah, there's gonna be all competition, but you at least know that there's food to eat,
Yeah. Don't
right?
be afraid of the competition, right? Like you said,
This
if that
industry is
fit,
booming. AI is
yeah,
probably gonna kill this industry last. If AI is gonna kill all the jobs, right? You can't build a house with a robot just yet. So
just yet, just yet.
there's good news.
Give it a few years and we'll all be out of a job. But for the time being, AI can't kill us, right? Like we still do things that need real people. We can't be afraid to lose, first and foremost, because you're going to lose. You can't be afraid of competition because competition is a good thing, right? Like Nick said, you want to go in the pond, nothing in the pond. That's why there's no fish in there. You want to go in the pond where everything is jumping. I like my chances in the pond where everything is jumping because I figure I can get me enough food in that pond to sustain myself and grow. But if you in that empty pond, you might see a fish come through every blue moon, and you better hope you catch it. Because if you don't,
That's what guys do. They just sit around waiting for phone calls, But that's
yeah,
a whole different story.
we got to be proactive in this business. This is not a reactionary business anymore. It used to be. It used to be. When my uncle used to do bathroom remodels, it was a reactionary business, and he was good at what he did, but he was disorganized, and that's okay because he didn't have to be organized. Nobody was. It was the industry standard. And I think a lot of times we're still in that mindset. If you've been in this business long enough and you learned it from somebody else, you've learned that industry standard that we're trying to get out of so we can help grow. We're past the yellow pages.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we'll open it up now to open Q&A, but I want to hear from everyone. Was that helpful? Was that good?
We got some nods.
Yep.
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, you can go off mute now if you got anything to say. Let's see what we got.
It was helpful.
And now this is really the meat and potatoes of it. You guys probably have a ton of questions, specifically like, how much do I pay people? Where do I find these guys? Like, this is where we can get into the woods of what it looks like.
Yeah, Steven, you came off mute. You had something?
No. I mean, what you said was right about the project manager. We've been utilizing a project manager almost from our inception, and that's the only reason. I mean, that is what allows me to go out every day and beat the street looking for work. I mean, without that guy in place, I would be stuck on the job sites. I'm lucky I communicate with him once a day, unless there's a problem. And if there is, typically it's only an oversight. They're really good. My guys are really good at putting out fires, so I don't have to deal with it. I usually stress to them that by the time it gets to me, it better be really bad for it to get to me. Because
So,
if it's
yeah.
not, you're wasting my time.
Somebody better be hurt physically if it get to me.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes you had an injury on the job. That
No,
I
it
don't
happens.
know about,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like yesterday we had an issue that there was they unpacked kitchen cabinets and the island cabinets were supposed to be black. We didn't have any black cabinets on site. So they knew that. They went through everything. They all the questions that I would have asked, they already did. And they were ahead of it. They even called the cabinet manufacturer to get ahead of it. And so they literally called me just to make me aware that there was a problem and then tell me how they went about fixing it.
Bingo.
Perfect.
That's the thing. Don't just come to me with a problem. I mentioned earlier, if you get the project manager comes to you with a problem, they have to come with a solution first. Did you think about how to fix this first?
Yeah.
Right. And if you did, great. You just keep me abreast of what's going on. Right. Yep. The project manager should really be literally your biggest shield. I know I don't have a better metaphor for that, but like they're really your shield. Right.
100%.
So so what made you get project managers from the start?
I just knew from doing this in the past that there's no way that I can be in multiple places at one time. It's impossible. I can't. If I'm on, quite frankly, I would rather be doing all the installs all day, every day, doing the Zoom calls and the building the business and the stuff with the state and the taxes this is the stuff that sucks. This is not what I signed up for. But this is a critical part of the business, and I'm not going to give this to anybody else to do it. So, it's important to me right now that I sell the jobs because I make sure the margins are right and everything's coming in the way that I want it to be. We're conceived and our perception is right. I just don't trust anybody else with it. But, we've had the struggles with staff and bringing in people. So, at one point too, I looked at it and said, well, maybe it's better that I go back to the field and then I hire a sales guy. But I think it's better this way because the sales guys seem the least trustworthy out of all of them. They're hardest to find.
You're not wrong. But it's about, I don't know what your training processes are with salespeople. Because listen, guys, if you think this ain't a nefarious business, think again, right? If you get on Better Business Bureau, I've mentioned it before, number one most complained about industry is used car sales. Number two is home improvement. We're essentially both because used cars is sales. We're in sales, and then we're definitely in home improvement, right? So you're going to find some people who might not do things the way that you would, but that's why, Nick mentioned it earlier, man, hiring good people. Sometimes you got to take a little longer to vet people. And listen, you're not going to be batting 1,000 with everybody you hire. That just, nobody is.
Yeah. Making the wrong hire is probably the most expensive mistake you can make as a business owner. The wrong hire.
The wrong
hire.
But
you also want to think about, okay, did I give this salesperson the proper training?
Absolutely.
Did I give them any training at all, or just to send them out to an estimate? And then, you also had, when you had guidelines, right? When you had your field estimators,
absolutely,
based on their commission, and then if they didn't price things accurately, they actually, how did you structure it?
Yeah, so basically our commission was simple, man. It was 10% of the job, not what the job netted, what the job gross was. So it was 50,000, they got 10%. Now, unless the margins went under 30%, right? Because we were running at a 52% margin. I knew how we were pricing things. So if you went under 30%, you got a flat $250 just for your efforts. So if you wanted to drop your pants essentially with a homeowner because you didn't want to focus on being a good salesperson, you just wanted to get a deal, you made $250. But if I kept seeing that happen over and over where you weren't using the sales structure that we set, then you wouldn't be with us very long, right? Because one, I'm not going to keep dropping my margins low, right? I'm not doing that because I'm here to make money. But you do have people who are afraid of sales and the perception of what a salesperson looks like, right? It's like salespeople are con artists. Like, no, they're not. Like, you asked me to be in this house. Like, I think we should be proud to say we are in sales, right? And if you don't think you're in sales, just don't be on this call because we're all in sales. Because again, like Nick said, I want everybody to think this in their mind. No contract equals no contractors. How do we get the contract? We have to sell it. So I take pride in doing. I take pride in like my methods and the fact that I am high integrity. I don't have any tricks to give you. Like my structure is there. I really just want people to understand what it's going to take and how can I provide a solution for you. But you have to train people this way, right? Because a lot of times when I first got into home improvement, it was go on this job site, watch these guys. No structure, no nothing. I'm literally just watching people go in the house and try to sell a job. And I'm sitting there the whole time. Now, I sold cars already, but I'm sitting there like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's wrong. This is not right. And then you come to watch him over and over, and it's like, oh, okay, you're just using these like tactics that you think like you have to like pull the wool over somebody's eyes. And it's like, oh, this guy led the company in chargebacks. I'm like, why would you have me out here with him? If he leads the company in chargebacks, why am I following him? But he also got everybody to say yes. So structure is important. I think that's the main thing. Steven, I feel like sounds like you have some structure involved in your setup. You just like you said, you know who to trust and who not to trust.
Yeah, we're always perfecting it. I mean, it's
Of course.
like you and Nick said, finding the right people, is very difficult, and it can be a deadly mistake. I mean, we've already at one point I pretty much cloned myself, and you know what I did? I gave the guy the weapons to be successful, and he left me.
Mm.
That's what hurts. So sometimes you don't, at least in my findings, you don't want to make them all that because once you give them the keys to the castle, then they feel like they can go out and do better than you, or they can do what you do. You make it look too easy,
That's
and
true too.
that's another problem because that hurts. You spend a couple of years training people as an investment in that person, and you're spending the money, and you're spending the money, and you're hoping you're going to mold and get this great guy, and then they turn around and leave you. That hurt. That hurts more than
That is
a bad
exactly
employee.
why. If you ever have been on any like, you ever seen the interview styles of any large companies and a corporate, like we're not corporate, right? But they always ask like those cliche interview questions of like they're trying to find a culture match. And like the reason why like you need to interview for culture more than anything else, like it doesn't matter how skilled they are, it doesn't matter how good they are at construction or like their experience or the fact that they're actually going to get less salary, they're not asking for as much money as somebody else, whatever. If they're not a good culture fit, you can't hire them because what's going to happen is they're going to do exactly what you said. They're going to leach off of you. They're going to take everything that you've learned, and then they're going to go bounce because it's not loyal.
Yeah.
So that is why, like, one of the biggest things that you need to interview for is culture. Like, are they good culture fit? Which sounds really cliche and it sounds very corporate. Like I'm interviewing for Bank of America, right? Like, are you a good culture fit for my company? Like, if this happened to you, like, but the reason why they have to ask those questions is because, and that's like a hard lesson to learn. But every CEO eventually comes to that realization, which is like when the largest companies in the world, they all have core values. They all have like a motto or like a key phrase, which is like what they live by, what they stand for. And that basically, like the culture of a company is what do people do when the CEO is not looking? What do people do when the boss is not looking? And that's basically the culture of a business. So when you're interviewing somebody and you just get that core gut feeling, you're like, man, this is like too good to be true. Like this guy, he's so smart. Like, why is he asking for so little? Like, what's his actual motivation?
But sometimes you get the mindset shift, like today the culture fits, everything's good, you're happy, this is a great opportunity, it's a win-win for everybody. 3 years down the road, the guy had a mindset shift and the light went off in his head and he goes, you know what? I know enough. I could do this. And the culture at that point goes out the window.
Yeah.
Opportunity
people change, right? And that's
people
3 years
change,
is a
and
long
that's
time.
just the
People
way
change.
that it goes. But you're right.
True.
Culture is what you're looking for on day one. That's what you're looking for. That's most important. But
Yeah. Now, can I interject? That guy that left, is he still in business?
he is. He's not doing as well as we are, but he's there. He's existing.
Okay, because I know a lot of times guys, especially when you're running things and everything's going smooth, they feel like it's easy because they don't know how fast the train is really going, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a buffer from him really understanding how fast it's really moving, right? So then you get on your own train, you're like, whoa, this train was going 500 miles an hour. I didn't realize, right? So yes, he has the principles that you taught him, but he's still missing that key element that's helping him excel and grow because he really didn't know how the sausage was being made because you gave him enough to make him dangerous,
Correct.
You didn't give him enough to really, again, because who does, right? You don't realize this. You're giving him enough to make him productive for you. He doesn't really, he thought it was easy. And I'm sure he's, like you said, he's doing well, but not as well as you are.
Well,
Because
he's currently, if I were to look at where he is now, he's living a life of instability. You know, when he was with me, he had a guaranteed paycheck every week. Everything was good. And now he's looking for the occasional win. So most weeks he's probably struggling. And then he gets that occasional windfall money that he does okay. And then he goes back to struggling.
that don't sound like he's doing well at all. That sounds like he's a contract.
That sounds
that's
like
what
most
we're,
contractors.
Sounds
that's
like
what we're trying
Nick said
to
it. That
avoid.
sounds like most
That's literally what we
contractors.
talked about this whole time. Like, this is what you don't want to be as, but
Literally
end up
what we're
as.
trying to avoid.
Right.
It's literally what we don't want for anybody here.
Yeah.
Is that you're waiting on that one windfall. Like, you know how stressful that is to wait on that next big check,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have any structure in place to know where it's coming from.
Been there, done that.
That's why guys go out of business, man. You just hit it on the head.
Yep.
You know, so. But don't stop training people, man. If they spurn you, you just gotta be that. You know, I wouldn't encourage you to stop imparting your
We
wisdom
don't
on
have a
people.
choice. We can't
Right.
stop. We got to keep,
Well,
you know, in order
yeah.
to move forward, we got to keep doing it and hope that somebody's actually going to be a good fit. We just picked up a guy that's phenomenal. So
Love to hear that. Love to hear that.
Thanks. So
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Anybody else? It's been really good. Ali, got your hand up. Go ahead, Ali.
Yep. Usually, how many projects covered with one project manager?
You kind of broke up on the one part. One more time.
Usually, how many projects should cover with one project manager?
A project manager should be able to handle at least at minimum 2 jobs at a time. If you got it depends on how many crews you have, though, right? So if you only got one crew, they should be handling every job, right? Now, they should be able to handle 2. I wouldn't stretch. I mean, ideally, you got a project manager for every crew that you have, basically like a crew lead. But if you only got one, if you got 2 crews, they should be able to handle 2 jobs at a time, right? Because again, it comes back to the structure. Everybody should know what their job is and what it's supposed to do. I lay it out on paper for my guys. This is the expectation for you. Even the guys who are literally swinging hammers, this is what's expected. Timelines need to be met. A project manager can be at 2 jobs a day. If they start their morning on one, eat their lunch, do their thing, afternoon on the second one, they should be fine.
So it doesn't matter what size job, because usually the bathroom and kitchen job is not that much big. So a project manager with 2 projects, you can spend like 4 hours in a job at the day. So what I think for the small job, it doesn't make sense, because the project manager is expensive part of the crews.
Yeah, but you still need somebody there to oversee. Like, you can't just have your crews running without any oversight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even on so they might not spend as much time on a small job like a bathroom. Say they're doing a 5x8 hallway bathroom. Sure, that might be where you start your day, just to make sure everything kicks off right and everything's going well. You can't leave the crews up. Like, I know crews are grown men,
yeah,
but you got to treat them like they're children, and you have to watch them, right? Like, so if they make mistakes, that's on you, not them, right? So you need your project manager there to make sure everything's good. If you got a larger job going on, obviously he should spend more time on a larger scale job.
mm-hmm.
But you don't ever want your crews just showing up talking. You don't want your crews talking to homeowners, right?
Definitely.
At all, right? Because the homeowners will try to talk to them. We all know that. You know, no. That's why you need a project manager there to literally set the tone. Hey, I'm here. Shake hands. If you need something, here's my number. Call me. You know, I can be out in X amount of time while they work. Yeah. So that's no more than 2. No more than 2. Otherwise, they'll be spread too thin, and then they won't feel like the money they're making is actually worth it.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's a Friday. Go there, crush it.
Yes, sir.
Sometime next week. We'll keep that topic a surprise for now. But
yeah. We're working. We're still working.
Yeah. So we are moving on
I see
Tuesday.
Travellis in there was listening in. We had a good conversation on Wednesday. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You're driving,
on
but I
mute.
know you're listening in.
He
I know
on mute.
he's-
He said something, but he on mute.
Yep. You're muting, but
Hey, that boy still talking too.
Travellis, if you're trying to say something, you're muted.
You muted, man. We can't hear you.
Who?
He's saying a lot too.
Oh, he's having the time of his life talking to himself in the car.
Man.
All right, well,
Yep.
that is what.
Yeah. Hey guys, we appreciate you for sure. Same time next week, man. You know, we'll
Thank you.
have another topic. We want to help you guys build and grow, man. So
Great.
we
Thank
appreciate you for sure.
Thank you so much for everyone.
Yeah, see you guys.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
Guys, talk soon.
Bye.